Thank you for joining us on the Rose Church podcast. For more information about this podcast or other resources, please visit rosechurch.org or follow us on social media at Rose Church PDX.
Second Kings chapter 4, an amazing story that I would like to shed some light on that I think is going to greatly encourage you. It says, now a certain woman, we don't even get her name. Now a certain woman of the wives of the sons of the prophets cried out to Elisha, your servant, my husband, is dead. And you know that your servant feared the Lord. And the creditor has come to take my two children to be his slaves because she couldn't pay all of her bills. Her husband's gone. She's not working. And the creditors come to take her children to go work for them because she can't pay her bills. Elijah said to her, what shall I do for you? Tell me, look at this question. What do you have in the house? And she said, your maidservant has nothing in the house. Notice how she starts. Your maidservant has nothing in the house except a jar of oil. Then he said, go, borrow vessels at large for yourself from all of your neighbors, even empty vessels. Do not get a few. You shall go in and shut the door behind you and your sons and pour out into all these vessels, and you shall set aside what is full. So she went from him and shut the door behind her and her sons, and when they were bringing the vessels to her, she poured. When the vessels were full, she said to her son, bring me another vessel. And he said to her, there is not one vessel more. And the oil stopped. Then she came and told the man of God, and he said, go, sell the oil and pay your debt, and you and your sons can live off the rest. I changed my title quite a lot this week, trying to figure out what I wanted to call this message today. And I kind of landed on one that I would like to make a statement from the onslaught of this message, from the very beginning of this message, and it's this. My title for our talk today is this. My miracle is in my house. My miracle is in my house. Let's pray today as we jump into 2 Kings 4. Jesus, we thank you for your word. We thank you for who you are. God, and even this very special moment in our church's history, God. Pray you'd be here today, illuminate your word to us, speak to us as we spend a few moments in this amazing story. In your mighty name, I pray. And everyone said, amen. I didn't even know my mom was speaking Wednesday night until she told me yesterday. I went to go pick up our kids. She's like, I'm speaking Wednesday night. And I was like, at what? And she was like, Jake invited me to speak at your worship night. And I was like, apparently Jake does whatever he wants. Sounds good, though. But many of you maybe met my mom, maybe you haven't. My parents travel full-time. They're not around too much, but when they are in town, they are normally here at church. But my mom is from Australia, born and raised there. When she's 18 years old, her younger brother, Michael Mark, and her mom and dad took a 3-month boat trip from Australia all the way to America. And she ended up marrying my dad and her brother, and mom and dad moved back to Australia, but she stayed. And to this day, my mom is still not an American citizen. She refuses. She's like, I am an Aussie. I was like, Mom, you lived here for 50 years. Like, come on. Like, you gotta give it up at some point. She's like, I will never be an American citizen. My mom's rebellious. So I'm half Australian, and then my dad's dad came on a boat from Portugal to Ellis Island in New York. Our last name was originally D'Souza, and then changed it to Damasio because there's so many D'Souzas coming over from Portugal. So I'm half Portuguese, half Australian. Which just means I'm really loud and I think I'm right. If you don't know any Australians, you know how true that is. But I remember one time I was in Australia. I've been there like 15 or 16 times. I've lost count. I love Australia. And we're there in Melbourne, Australia, at my cousin's house. And me and my 3 cousins are getting dropped off at the mall. And my mom goes, hey, here's some money. Now, if you don't know what Australian money is like, they call them notes. Not cash or dollar bills, whatever. They're called notes. And then outside of notes, they have coins. Like what we'd have like quarters and nickels, but they have what they call coins. And I get out of the car, and my uncle and aunt are giving my cousins all these like notes, like give them so much money. And I'm like, must be nice. Then my mom goes, here's some money. And I stole some money from my mom last night when I went to get my kids. I stole some of her Australian money. She's not here, so she isn't, no. But she gives me like a handful of like coins. And I look at it, and in my mind, I think of quarters, nickels, and dimes because that is my reference. That is my my knowledge of when you give me coins, I think of nickels and dimes and quarters. So I'm about to go, Mom, don't be cheap. Give me more money. I didn't say that. I wouldn't be breathing. But I was like, Mom, like, this is it. Just give me a few quarters. She's like, no, I gave you more than that. I was like, no, you didn't. Like, I have a bunch of quarters, Mom. She's like, okay, Andrew, Australians don't have quarters, first of all. Second of all, look at your hand again. And I looked down, and I didn't know that, like, Australians, outside of notes, have coins of, like, $1 coin, $2 coin, $5 coin, and $10 coins. So I actually had a lot more money in my hand than I realized. I just didn't know that that's how Australian money worked. All I knew was when I get coins, I think of dimes, nickels, and quarters. I wonder how often we ask God for something, and he gives us everything we need in one. But because of our preference and because of our knowledge, we think God has shortchanged us. We think God hasn't given us what we want. And we're looking like, God, really? This is all you're going to give me? And he's like, I gave you more than you think. And we're like, okay, I need to recount what's in my hand. I love 2 Kings 4 because this woman, don't even get her name. Her husband served with Elijah. He is now dead. She is a widow with 2 sons, can't pay her bills. She finds Elijah and says, help me. I want to ask you 4 questions today. And I worded them like personal, like my. I want you to think about these 4 questions today as we get ready to commit financially toward our building and toward what's going on in our church. Number 1, my first question is, where is my escape? She can't pay her bills. She's a single mom with 2 boys, and her son's about to be taken for money. But she knows if I ever get in trouble, I should find Elisha. Let's give this woman credit because she knows when I'm in trouble, I know where to go. Let's give this woman some credit because she knows when life is overwhelming, I need to find the mediator. You must understand in Old Testament history that people believed that God was too big, too good, and too far. They could not talk to him themselves. So they would find prophets or teachers to mediate them with God. Talk to God for me. It was a priest or a prophet or a healing person, whatever it might be. Elisha, in their world, is a mediator. So let's give this woman some credit because she knows when I'm in trouble, I know where to go. Can I simply ask you today, just as we start this sermon, when you are overwhelmed, what's your escape button? Now, all of us want to yell Jesus. Jesus! Okay. We know we want to say that. We want to. Our good Christian heart wants to yell Jesus. But we know it's actually a bottle or a pill or money or spending or shopping or Netflix or, Hulu. This guy's with us called Hula all week. He's like, do you watch Hula? And I was like, what is Hula? He's like, yeah. I was like, you mean Hulu? He's like, yeah, Hula. I was like, never mind. Right? And not even could be bad things necessarily, but every single one of us, when life is pressuring in, we have an escape button. When anxiety is coming in, when the pressure and the job and the money and the spouse and the school and the career and maybe demotions and maybe moving and maybe downgrading and I don't know what's going on, when I feel the world sucking in on me and pressuring in on me, I have an escape button. This woman knew when life is overwhelming, I can go to Elisha because he's a great mediator between me and God and he will get me out of this scenario. What does Hebrews call Jesus? The great mediator. Can I submit to you today that we have a person much better than Elisha, much better than a prophet, much better than this. We have Jesus himself as our mediator, and we can go to him and say, I'm overwhelmed. I need an escape. If I could be really honest, I think a lot of pastors and Christian leaders, they get in situations that they didn't know what to do with, and they make bad decisions because they need an escape. I don't know how to get out. I don't know what to do, so I hit the escape button. And it's not the button that we wanted. Look at Hebrews chapter 4. Look at this amazing verse, Hebrews chapter 4. So then, since we have a great high priest who has entered heaven, Jesus, not any high priest, Jesus, the Son of God, is our high priest, let us hold firmly to what we believe. This high priest of ours understands our weakness. For he faced all of the same testings we did, yet did not sin. Oh, that sentence is good because it gives me confidence that Jesus is man enough to understand our plight, but God enough to get us out of the plight we find ourselves. He is close enough to talk to about our plight, but he's also big enough to go, you can get out, you can do this, you can follow me, because I know what you're going through, but I didn't succumb to it. And because of this, look what happens. We can come boldly. Do you know why many of us don't come boldly in prayer? It's because we don't think God understands or God knows. You don't get it. But when we understand who our high priest is, oh, now we can come boldly because Jesus, you know what I'm going through. You understand what's happening. You've been tested the same way I've been tested, yet you were greater than it. You didn't succumb to it, so you can understand what I'm saying, but also get me out. And look at this. I love this. We come to the throne of our gracious God. The ESV says we come to the throne of grace. Can I ask a really big question today? If you're a follower of Jesus, what throne do you think your God sits on? Is it the throne of judgment? Is it the throne of condemnation? And it goes like this. I can't believe we're praying about this again. I can't believe we're still here 8 years later. I can't believe you did it again. I can't believe you said it again. I can't believe you aren't over this. When you approach God in prayer, what throne do you think he's sitting on? Hebrews gives us context that he's on a throne of grace. And there we will receive his mercy. And we will find grace to help us when we need it most. What is your escape button? When you don't know what to do and life's overwhelming, you can't pay the bills, you can't change yourself, you can't do the self-help thing anymore, it's no longer working. What do you do to get out? My second question is this: what's in my house? See, I love this story. Let's just pause here for a while. Elisha, she approaches Elijah, and he goes, what can I do to help you? And then he asks this phenomenal question. He goes, what's in your house? And then look at how she starts in her response. Nothing. Except a little jar of oil. What was it? Nothing or a little? Which is it? How she starts is, what do you have? Nothing. Except a little jar of oil. I wonder how often the miracle we need is right there, but we just keep calling it nothing. I wonder how often God's like, what do you have? Nothing. What's in your possession? Nothing. What giftings have I given you? Nothing. What blessing? Nothing. What are you calling nothing? That is more than you think. And that's why we're going to make this statement today. My miracle is in my house. How often do we play the game? Well, if I had their house. Well, if I had their money. Well, if I had their marriage. Well, if I had that wife. Well, if I had that husband. Well, if I had those kids. If I had that career. If I had that upbringing. Well, if I had their house. Oh, I would do a lot more. Do you know why? Because many of us, we're very good at overestimating what we would do with what we don't have. And we're very poor at underestimating what we can do with what we do have. But it's a fun game to play. Well, if I did have it, you don't. I'm sorry. You don't have the six-figure job. You don't have the pedigree. You don't have the job. But what you do have, you need to stop calling nothing. Because your miracle is in your house. It's not in her house. It's not in their house. It's not in your neighbor's house. Everything that you need and that God can multiply is in your house. But you have to stop calling it nothing. What do you have? Nothing. Except a little bit. Nothing. What do you see in your future? Nothing. What do you think God's doing? Nothing. And I love Elijah. He doesn't say, go find your rich friend. Ask them for money. Go find the priest and ask him for a bar. Go ask. He goes, what's in your house, woman? And she had to go look and take inventory of her house. And she says, nothing. Man, this story really speaks to me because that woman is me in Australia with my cousins. What do you have? Nothing. Check your hand again. Okay, I got a 2 and a 5. Oh, I got a lot of money in my hand. But because of my preconceived notion of what coins previously meant to me, I think I had nothing. So it wasn't that I had to change what's in my hand. I had to change my perspective of my paradigm, what is in my hand. I think many of you today needs to be a house check. What is really in your house? What is really in your spouse? What is really in your home? What is really in your kids? And many of you are so good at seeing what's in everybody else, but you can't see what's in you. You are the ultimate encourager. Oh, I see that in you. I see this in you. Some of you need to have that same attitude and look at your house and look at your hand. And maybe it's time to re-look and re-engage and reassess what God's given you. And it might be more than you think. What's in your house? Nothing. Well, it's not nothing. It's just little. And do you know what I've found out about Christians? Is if you aren't thankful for little, you won't be thankful for much. You won't be. If you can't be content with what you have, you will not be content with what you get. Because what is happening is you're not just discontent for what you have in the physical, you are discontent with who you are in the personal. And you need to understand that when you get the job, you're still you. You get the raise, but you're still you. So it's not about getting the new job or the new spouse or the new home or the new car. It's about you adapting and you changing, because if you aren't thankful for the little, you will not be thankful for the much. It goes this way. If you want to be manager, start acting like the manager while you're still the service person. If you think your perspective is going to change just because you got the raise, friend, you are confusing yourself. You act like a manager before you become the manager. You act like the boss before you're ever the boss. Because I know it's a little, but it's going to be big. What if you started acting like your little was much? Oh, I know it looks like a little, but wait till, believe me, it's going to multiply. What does the Bible say? He who is faithful with little will be given much. It doesn't say he who has potential for more than little. I have Jesus, I have more potential than what I have. Be faithful with it. And if you are good with the little, I will give you much. What's another verse in the Old Testament? Do not despise the day of small beginnings. There's a lot of littles. There's a lot of littles. But I really want you to understand today, maybe take a step back and go, what do I have? Maybe it's time to stop complaining about what you weren't given and start being thankful for what you were given. Because if you have that paradigm and perspective and predisposition, you'll never have enough. Never. There'll be always another level. You know what's really funny? Someone's better than you, and there always will be. Someone has more money than you, and there always will be. I remember one time when I was a youth pastor, that's not super encouraging. Some of you are like, oh, okay. No, let me give context. I remember I was a youth pastor. We had like the largest youth camp we've ever had in a summer. I think we had like 900 students at summer camp. And I was like pumped. Like, yeah, we dominated this summer. I run youth ministry. Next month, I go to a conference. I meet this man named Brad Cooper. He's like, hey, who are you? I was like, my name's Andy, I'm a youth pastor. He's like, hey, me too. He's like, we had camp last month. I'm like, me too. Ask me how many people we had. He was like, how was camp? I was like, great. We had like 900 kids. He was like, how was your camp? He's like, good. We had 7,000. I was like, you had 7,000 high schoolers? He's like, yeah, it was kind of a low year, but I was still thankful. I don't want to punch you in the throat, first of all. I didn't say that. But hear me. There's always someone bigger. There's always someone richer. If you live in the land of you will hate the rest of your life. Who's richer, who's prettier, who's bigger, who's wealthier. There's always going to be those people. So you might as well go, you know what? I'm going to work what I got. I know that what they have is what they have. But God has given me what I need, and I'm going to work what I've been given. Because my miracle is in my house. Not their house. It's in my house. Third, let's continue this journey. This is all introduction. This is the framework. We'll get to the picture eventually. I'm getting bad. My intros are getting longer and longer and longer these days. My other question is, what's my capacity? Oh, this is phenomenal. She goes, go get all the vessels you got. Go get as many as you can from your neighbors. Bring them into the house. What does the Bible say? The oil stopped when the vessels ran out. She goes, bring me another vessel. And her sons go, there are no more. And the Bible says the oil stopped. This is a phenomenal principle about God, is when you run out of capacity, he stops pouring. And many of us go, God, why'd you stop blessing? Did you run out of blessings, God? Are you busy blessing her? Are you busy blessing them? No, God did not run out of blessing. You ran out of capacity. And when your vessels run out, he'll stop. My prayer today for you and for me in this church, in your marriage, your business, your freelancing, whoever you are, God, expand my capacity. Expand my, 1 Chronicles 4, prayer of Jabez. He goes, Lord, put your hand on me and expand my territory. Why are we shy about our prayers? God, if you want to, I guess you can if you want. I don't know. I kind of feel weird praying for more because I'm just really thankful, Jesus, for what I have. But I'm only making $26,000 a year, Jesus, and I can't. But prayer Jabez goes, Lord, put your hand on me and expand my territory. God, this is what I'm praying for. I want you to expand me. I want you to stretch me. And listen, that is a sexy prayer, but it hurts. I was actually really short all of junior high. My mom thought I was going to be short. I was like 5'5", 5'6", in like 6th, 7th grade. I grew 6 inches in one summer. I grew 6'2" the freshman year. My back hurt. My knees hurt. Some bones I didn't know I had hurt. I was just sore all night. I could not sleep, but I wanted to be taller. But I did not want to stretch. Because it hurts. It's uncomfortable. But I wanted to be taller. Jesus, give me more, but let me stay the same. Jesus, expand me, metaphorically. Not literally, because I'm comfortable. Jesus talks in the New Testament, he goes, I will never give new wine to an old wineskin, because the old wineskin will burst and I'll lose the wineskin and the wine. So what is Jesus saying? I'll withhold the new until you become new yourself. But our prayer is, no, Jesus, give me the new, and I'll become new. But Jesus ain't stupid. He knows you're not. Bring me more vessels. We ran out. I'll stop the whale. Because your capacity is ran out, I'll wait. I hope your prayer today is, Jesus, stretch me. Expand my capacity. Broaden my shoulders. Broaden my weight. Broaden what I can hold. God, I want more, but I know that you're withholding until I can withhold it. So stretch my capacity. My last question, this is where I'm going to pause for a bit. And this is, I said everything to say this. Will you release it? Will I release it? This story is phenomenally challenging. Because the Bible doesn't say when she got all of the vessels in the house, the vessels just bursted with oil. That'd be pretty cool. Bring the oil, put it on the table, put vessels everywhere, and watch the oil grow in the vessel. That'd be pretty cool. No. He says, get the vessels. Can you put it back up? Toward the ladder, like verse 6, 7, I believe. Shut the door behind you and your sons. Time out. I love how he goes, shut the door. No one needs to see this miracle but between me and you. Some of you need to stop posting everything on social media, everything on Twitter. Some things that happen in your life are between you and God. He goes, shut the door. No one needs to see this. They'll see the result, but they won't see the pouring. Don't worry about it. Just shut your door, go on your way. And I think it's a principle that we need to start shutting the door more often. Not everybody needs to know everything, by the way. Different message for different time. Shut the door. And then look it. They were bringing the vessels to her, and she poured. Let's just give this story context, friends. A single mom with her 2 boys who's about to have everything taken from her has a little oil. And he goes, pour it out. Well, Jesus, can't you just make oil bubble up? He goes, I won't bless until you pour. Oh, I hope you're catching this today. It wasn't, the miracle didn't come until she let go. Jesus, just do it in my hand. No, let go of it. God, I have the load in my hand. Just multiply. Let go. And you know what's interesting about pouring oil out? It's not coming back. She had to take her little. And I don't know, this is my personality. I would just see her hand shaking. Like, I don't know what's going to happen. She doesn't get to read 2 Kings 4. We do. There is, though, I know what's going to happen. She had to go, I believe in the mediator that told me to do it. And I trust in the mediator. So I will take my shaking faith. And I don't know if I believe it. I don't know what's going to happen. But if this is what you want, I will pour. And there was no blessing until there was pouring. This is sexy preaching. It's not fun to live. We can amen all we want. Yeah! Pour. No. Right? Like, this is fun. But in real life, you're trying to pay your rent, and God's like, give it. You're like, Satan, get behind me. This is not the Lord. It's amazing to me how often I talk to people, and they're like, I'm just really struggling. You got a new tattoo last week. Where'd that money come from? I'm talking to myself. Calm down, okay? I have a lot of tattoos, and I'm getting more. I have no money. Where'd those jeans come from? Where'd that vacation come from? Where'd that trip east come from? It's amazing how we find money when we want it. It's amazing. I was really struggling. Are you at church next week? No, I'm in the Bahamas. I thought you had no money. Found some. It's amazing. Because for things we love, we will find money to do it. It might be time to check your hand again. I feel some of you have been bad-mouthing God because you haven't checked your hand in a while. God's not faithful. God's not good. He is not generous. And you're sitting here with more than you could ever know. And you're busy yelling at God because you haven't checked your hand in a while. And it might be time to take a step back and go, that was nothing I deserved. That was everything I prayed for. I didn't know I had that. And you stop calling little nothing. It might not be what you want. Don't get me wrong. It might not be everything you are praying for. But when you release, He steps in. But you have to release it. You have to let go. Can you grab that card that's on your seat, every single one of you? If you're a visitor today, please feel zero pressure whatsoever. Some of you are like, hey man, I just came for the girl and the food. I don't know what this is. This is no pressure whatsoever. But for those of us that call this home, you've been here for weeks and months. You knew today was coming. We've been talking about it for 7 weeks. The team's already committed, $191,000. Other churches have already given money. I'll tell you that amount later. I feel the wind of God behind us in this season. I do. Some of you are like, well, I wasn't really prepared today. We're going to worship for a bit, and you can pray about a number. Or not. Some of you today walked in with a number that you've been praying about for a few weeks, and God told you to double it. God told you to add another zero. God told you to cancel some things in your life so you can give more. Yeah, but I love hula. You can cancel hula for a little bit. You know what we're doing today as a church? God, here's my little. Multiply it. Talked to one man he's like, I'm giving 5,000. He said, but what is 5,000 in the midst of 500,000? It's nothing. Talked to another person, I'm giving 200. What's 200 out of nothing? Isn't it interesting? Different amounts, same perspective. Why? Because whether you're committing 220,000 or 2 million, if you are, let's get lunch after service. But we often think what we're giving is little. And your little is a lot to someone else, but you think it's little. And what we're doing today as a church is, Jesus, I'm pouring out my little. Multiply. Stretch my capacity. You know, in like athletic world, when you're running, you hit a second wind. Do you know what's literally happening? Your lungs are expanding for more air. You hit a wall and your lungs go, and you can keep running. You're expanding. Today's an expansion day. Maybe you walked into with no number. Your guy, I had no idea what today was. I had no number. We're gonna pray about it. And once again, if you're a visitor today, I truly, from the deepest part of my heart, this is no pressure for you. But if you want to jump in, the water's warm. Jump in. But if you're like, hey man, this is a little too much, that's fine. There's no pressure whatsoever. But can we stand to our feet today?